All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video on Niner undrafted free agent Evan Anderson, a big defensive tackle from Florida Atlantic. But first, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. It's all great. But get the brisket chili. It's extra incredible. Go say hi to Damon and Mary and tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. We're also brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. Check them out in Monterey. Call Anthony Catania at 831-521-5264. All right, 49ers have had a lot of success in recent years with undrafted free agents. And, sometimes you get a little indication of how a team feels about a particular, undrafted free agent, because it becomes kind of like the Wild Wild West. The draft ends, and then every team gets on the phone and starts making their deal, making their plea. Hey, come here. We got a role for you. We got this for you. We got that for you. We'll guarantee you a signing bonus. We'll guarantee you this much money. And it becomes very, very competitive for the undrafted players, and it becomes a gigantic free-for-all. And if you really want a player, oftentimes you have to guarantee them a significant amount of money to choose your team over Kansas City, or your team over the Eagles, or your team over the Steelers. And sometimes there's, your agent is, the player's agent gets involved and is like, hey, you know what? The Steelers have only one good running back, so we're going to go place you with the Steelers because we think that's where you have the best chance to make the team. Sometimes it's just about, let's take the biggest money offer we can get. Well, one of the guys the Niners signed that they gave a lot of money to was Evan Anderson, a gigantic defensive tackle from Florida Atlantic. He's an interesting story. He showed up about 360 pounds, and he's dropped some weight. And now he's closer probably to about 330. 6'1", 330. They list him at 6'1", 320, but I think he's probably even a little heavier than that. And the Niners gave, Anderson, he's a one technique, right? He's a nose guard. In the Niners badly, struggled against short yardage run and goal line run situations last year. They got pushed around by Detroit in the playoffs. They just lost their best defensive lineman against the run, Eric Armstead, last month. So in a lot of ways, this is and they did not draft a single defensive tackle. That, they wanted to get a top tier undrafted guy, and they like Evan Anderson. Now, I've watched Anderson's film. He's strong. There's no question about that. He'll hold the point of attack. He's pretty slow. I mean, to me, he's really slow. But maybe I saw him when he was closer to 360 and not 320. But the Niners guaranteed him a whopping $280,000 in guaranteed money. So they obviously love him, love him a lot. Now, big guaranteed money does not always mean that you're going to make the team. I mean, it really doesn't. Last year, the guy the Niners paid the most money to as an undrafted free agent was an offensive lineman out of Shepherd named Joey Fisher. And I really liked Fisher as well. They gave him $130,000. He showed up in minicamp and couldn't get through minicamp because of heat exhaustion, on a 70-degree day in Santa Clara in the springtime. So then when it got to camp, he just didn't have it. I mean, he's big and strong, and he had good straight line speed, I guess, if you tested him, but he didn't have great quickness. He looked really stiff, and sure enough, when the cuts came down at the end of August, he was cut. So, so just because he got 130,000 guaranteed, good for him. And then he caught on somewhere else, but he didn't make the team. The year prior to that, the number one undrafted free agent, as far as cash was concerned, was Arizona State center Donovan West, who got a $100,000 guarantee. And I took one look at this guy in camp, and I'm like, no, he's not going to make it. He just didn't have the frame. He just didn't have it. I mean, he had narrow shoulders, huge waist, didn't move all that well. But the Niners gave him $100,000 guaranteed. So, the point of the matter is $280,000 guaranteed is more than 100 for Donovan West, more than 130 for Joey Fisher, but it doesn't guarantee that he's going to make the team. $280,000 though means that the Niners badly wanted Evan Anderson. Why do they badly want him? Because he holds the point of attack. If you watch him in the combo block videos that are circulating on him on the internet, on YouTube, he can split a double team. He can stand up a double team. He's strong enough and broad enough to stand up a double team and split it, or just stand those guys up and hold his ground. So, for only the second time in the Shanahan-Lynch era, the Niners did not draft a defensive lineman of any kind. And yet their run defense was a sieve last year. And as I mentioned, Armstead's moved on. So, Armstead was a 6'7", 285, but he played with great functional strength, and he just had unbelievable technique, and he was a very good run defender. He could stand up blocks, use his arm length to keep them at bay, split it when he needed to, come off of blocks and make tackles on the running back. I mean, he really was a very, very almost textbook how to play the run kind of a player, at 6'7", 285, 295 in that range. This guy is now, we're talking about Evan Anderson. He's 6'1". He's about 320 pounds, I would say. And he ran 5.32 in the 40, which is like, you could record that with a sundial. I mean, that's like one of the slowest 40 times you're going to hear. 5.32. I mean, just to put this in perspective, Aaron Donald, who theoretically plays the same position, defensive tackle, ran 4.68. So now granted, that's Aaron Donald, total different build, total different game, and future Hall of Famer. There's no shame in not being Aaron Donald, but 5.32 is incredibly slow, and that was one of the slowest of any defensive lineman, tested this year was Evan Anderson. But you can't move the guy, and he can anchor, and he can split double teams, and he's incredibly strong. So it'll be interesting. I mean, the 49ers have, obviously Malik Collins and Javon Hargrave, and then they've got Jordan Elliott. You still got Kalia Davis. You got Kevin Givens. They have some depth there at the position, but nobody who's really a two-gapper who can really hold the point of attack. And so I would say when you're guaranteeing Evan Anderson $280,000, you're almost guaranteeing that he's going to at least make the practice squad. Because you're basically saying, hey, we think enough of this guy to invest, $250,000 or more in his future. So, I mean, it's there's a lot of money in the NFL, but they throw around $250,000 like manhole covers. I mean, they just don't part with that money that easily unless they really have a belief. But we'll see. We'll see. I've watched the guy's film. He's very, very strong. And you can see that it's not just weight room strength. He's got anchor strength. He does not, and once he sets his feet, you have a hard time drive blocking him out of there. So is Evan Anderson going to make the team? I mean, he's got a real shot. But I'll say this, watching him, he gives you zero pass rush. I heard somebody say he's DJ Jones. He's not DJ Jones. He's not DJ Jones. DJ Jones was really, 6'1", 320, enormously strong, strongest guy in the weight room, functional strength, weight room strength, and he had quick feet, and he could put a little heat on the quarterback. I don't see those quick feet with Evan Anderson. I do see a guy who's enormously strong. I do see a guy who can hold up against a double team. I do see a guy that, you could put in there on goal line and short yardage, and he could probably hold the point of attack in the A gap. But I don't see quickness, and I don't see any pass rush. And to me, you got to have at least some of that to make an NFL team. So, is Evan Anderson going to make the Niners? If you said to me, you know, bet your life on one outcome, he either makes it or doesn't, I'd say despite the fact they give him $280,000 guaranteed, that he won't make the team, because I think you do need to have some pass rush, and I don't know how good he can be at anchoring against the run. So we know what he can do. We know what he can't do. We're going to see him this summer in camp. I'm sure they're going to try to do their best they can to get him in the best shape possible and get him as quick as possible off the ball. Maybe there's a quickness off the ball that Niner scouts saw that I just didn't see in any of the highlights. Maybe I saw him at 360 and they saw him at 320, and at 320 he moves a lot quicker. But the guy that I saw is strong as hell, really, really immovable in the middle, very good anchor strength, and no pass rush, no quickness. I mean, no ability to even move down the line and make a play outside of the A gap. So to me, that's probably too limited to make the Niners, but we'll see. And he should be a fun guy to watch this summer, because he may be the strongest defensive lineman the Niners have in camp. All right, thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles for sponsoring this video. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.